All right then, hello folks, it's Jack here from Peach Guitars. We're here at NAMM 2020. We've stopped by to see our good friends at Martin Guitars today, starting off with the man himself. This is Chris Martin.
Hey.
So for anyone who doesn't know, this is the main man behind the whole company, so the perfect guy to talk to this morning about what seems to be quite a pivotal year for Martin Guitars, because up to this point, everybody knows about how authentically Martin recreate their history. They're very proud of it. But we've actually seen some really exciting innovations this year as well. And we're very aware that you guys are focusing on the kind of the environmental side of things, now, the renewable wood sources and stuff like that. So perhaps you could just talk a little bit about why you decided now is the time to focus on that dispersion, and you're looking forward as well as honoring your history too.
So I don't know, honestly, how it was decided back in the day that fine acoustic guitars had to be made from rare exotic timbers. They work. I cannot deny that. But let's dissect it. They're rare and they're exotic, and they're becoming more so. I'm the 6th generation of my family's business, so from a selfish standpoint, I'm keenly aware of the fact that the last thing on earth I should do is cut down all the trees at once, because then there are no more trees for future generations. And so it just makes sense to me that we should look at these resources and treat them with a great deal of respect. And fortunately, there are more so than ever laws in place that pretty much require that. So even if we were just going to do it because it felt good, you kind of have to do it, or you can get fined, you can have the lumber seized, and you can go to jail.
So it's moral and legal.
Right. There's nowhere to hide anymore.
Absolutely.
There's still illegal logging going on. I'm hoping that it's not part of our industry. I can't say for sure. I know that, my friends who make high quality, high priced guitars are as concerned about this issue as I am.
Of course, and arguably the spotlight is probably the largest on your company.
Well, that's the other thing.
Because of the heritage you have.
We have someone would rather say, hey, I found Mr. Martin doing something unethical than Mr. So-and-so who you never heard of.
Sure, So we're seeing quite big changes across the board then, or are we looking at specific series?
And what's interesting is when CITES overreached and regulated all the rosewood, it did kind of force all of us to say, hey, we should take a closer look at alternatives. Just by the nature of who we are, yes, people expect Martin as long as we can to make guitars out of mahogany and rosewood and ebony, but there are other woods that work also. Yeah,
and arguably that's much more interesting to the player as well as to you as a builder, because you've got these legacy models that are tried and true. I think people do want to know a little bit. Now, they've moved past the kind of snobbery of it's got to be 100% the way it was. If you can get
or you already have a D28.
Exactly.
I don't want another D28, I want something else. Hey, I'd like you to have the Martin name on the headstock.
Exactly, and in quite dramatic fashion, you've unveiled a new body shape.
Well, how about that?
With a whole bunch of new technologies in that. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about that.
So my role in that project was, my colleagues came to me and they said, so here's the problem. Will you, Chris, endorse us through giving us permission to divert our attention, and we're going to need some resources to trying to solve the problem. And what they said to me was, so here you've got someone, they grow up on the electric guitar, which generally has a cutaway, and you can play all the way up the neck. Now that person says, I'm going to get an acoustic guitar. I'm going to get one with a cutaway because I'm used to that. And they go to play and they bang into the heel and the top block. That's just the nature of how particularly Martin guitars are made with the dovetail joint. And so my colleague said, what we'd like to do is try and find a workaround. And I'm like, have at it. So they went off, and periodically I'd get an update. How's it going? Well, it's very challenging. We think we're onto something, and by the way, we're going to reconfigure the body while we're at it. Why not? I said, all right, don't go too far out, because if it's visually, if it confronts you too much, you're going to go, that's a Martin. But I don't think it does. I think it's like, I still see elements of Martin in there, and that just the way that the neck and the body attach is really elegant. But here's the rub, okay? So this thing's going on, and they're on to like prototype number 42 or whatever. And I said, so when do you think this thing's actually going to be presentable?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Chris. And this was a while ago. They're like, oh boy, if we're lucky, Summer NAMM Show 2020.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him and I said, I don't know about that.
We all know what we're aiming for.
We have a big show
Yes.
in the winter of 2020. Can you speed it up? I don't think they were happy. And so the punchline is, I will say that it took longer than I expected to birth this baby, and they will say they would have preferred to keep it in the womb for another 9 months.
Right. But I think, my impression, I've only seen the guitar for about a minute. Just a few minutes ago.
Yep.
You can't hear anything in here.
No, I know.
But as a predominantly electric player,
Okay.
and I'm guessing this was kind of the quota, as it were, was it's so comfortable.
Good.
A lot of those hybrid guitars of the past
Yeah.
have still felt like acoustic guitars, but they're trying to become electric guitars. With that, it still feels like a Martin acoustic, but with all this extra freedom.
Yeah, good.
And you know, I think obviously you've got to sit down, you've got to explore all the options that the guitar has to offer, which I'm guessing is kind of boundless, really, with the electric sounds that are on board and stuff like that. I know there's some really intense technologies there that we haven't yet explored ourselves, but just as an instrument to play, incredibly comfortable.
Good. And we were very conscious of the fact that it has to sound like a Martin unplugged.
Yes.
You know, hopefully you're going to plug it in, you're going to go, wow, this is a really cool acoustic electric, but once in a while you're not, and we don't want you to go, wow, without it being plugged in, it doesn't sound very good at all. So we're like, no, it's going to sound okay without plugging it in.
I think it does. Yeah. I'm going to hopefully get my hands on it once again before today. But I do think that it's obviously quite a significant turning point to introduce a new body shape.
Yep.
Where do you see that particular shape going? Would you apply some of the vintage techniques to it in future, do you think?
We'll have to see what the response is. You never know with a new product.
Yeah.
You know, that you get this thing, and does it keep doing that, or does it... So I was talking to a friend of mine from Fender a couple years ago, and I said, hey, a buddy of mine just bought one of your solid bodies with these little modules in the back. And he's so excited, and he said, I can change the module and I can get different sounds. And I said, do you still have any more of those? Are there a bunch of those modules? He said, I got a whole box of them in my office. I said, how did the did the market receive that model?
Yeah.
He goes, witch's hat. I go, witch's hat? He goes, yeah. So you never know until you know. So I'm not going to speculate. I think the neck, I think you will see that on other Martins.
Sure.
Just because of how stable it makes the end of the fingerboard.
Yeah.
The body, time will tell.
Okay.
There's certainly, we can use different materials. We could put pearl inlay, but we'll see if the market wants that or not.
I just think it's very exciting nonetheless to know that a company with as much heritage and importance as yourselves, you're not resting on your laurels, whether it's introducing new shapes or particularly, this environmental push, which is kind of banded around quite willy-nilly. Everyone seems to be jumping on this train, but for a company of your stature to do it, it's obviously a big undertaking, and it's not something you've thought about lightly.
It's expensive, there's... When you have wood that is certified as legal, there's a cost to that, and that cost gets built into the wood. People have to get paid to go and say, yes, I looked at the paperwork, I went into the jungle, I talked to the indigenous people. The entire chain of custody seems legitimate. There's a fee. You don't get that for free, but we willingly pay it. Just to be able to say to you, it isn't just us. We don't self-certify this. We have a third party, an independent third party, that goes in and says, I did the due diligence. I agree with Martin that there is nothing to worry about in the purchase of this particular shipment of wood.
And that's the way things have to be now.
Right.
And it's great.
Maybe someday they won't have to be that way.
Yeah.
But in the middle, trust but verify, I think, is the word.
Yeah, but your efforts are obviously proving true that hopefully people are going to be well on board with this new this new direction for Martin. So we're very pleased to see where it's going to go in the future.
All right, well, stop back next year.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'll update you.
Looking forward to receiving the new guitars. I hope that you guys, when you get your hands on them,
now I will say with the new S model, they're made by hand. They're made in our factory in Navajoa, in Sonora, Mexico, by hand. They're coming off the line slowly. You know, it's a new model. When can I get one?
Yeah.
When we make it, that's when you can get it.
So be patient.
Please be patient.
But,
yes.
I'm certainly looking forward to seeing them land in the shop, and
all right,
we'll
you'll get one.
Put them through their paces and see what they can do.
Good.
Chris, thank you so much for your time.
My
Much
pleasure.
appreciated. Have a great show, and we'll look forward to seeing what's new from Martin for the rest of the year. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.